you guys? It's your girl Dash coming back to you from Real Takes. Today I'll be doing a review slash recap of season 1, episode 8 of Black Lightning, titled Revelations, and a revelation it was. This was a good episode. Now, before I get into that one, of course, you remember episode 7, Equinox, the Book of Fate. A lot happened on that one. Of course, both Lynn and Jefferson finally come to terms with the fact that, yes, they know that his genetics is passed on to his daughters, since we know Jennifer does not know just yet. Anissa is now, been out, trying to figure out her powers, what she's able to do. And then, of course, that situation where they got into that little bit of a fight, trying to save somebody they care about, hence her mom, his ex. And I just like how, at first, it was a lot for, of course, Anissa to kind of come to realization, of course, as well as Lynn, because that's what she's been trying to avoid for her daughter. Secondly, Jefferson trying to come to the terms that what Lynn says, you're going to have to train her. If you don't, she's going to go ahead and get herself hurt. She needs the best situation in regards to learning how to deal with this every day within her everyday life. Basically, because Lynn wants her to be able to still have a life and not make it where she's all consumed with being somebody who's a superhero, vigilante, however they want to see her. Same thing as how she felt with Jefferson when she didn't want him to be impacted by this because it affected them as a family. The situation, what happened with Lady Eve, it was unfortunate. I hate to see Jill Scott go. Love me some Jill Scott, but that was a good little, scene where, the takedown, the fight scene. I thought she was going to live, and then they had that buddy open that casket. I'm like, oh, hiding like a little punk. But, it brings the story along, move it along. Same thing with Tobias, him having the situation where he's basically escorted out to save his life by his sister, but then she gets caught up in it over a ricochet gun bullet. And of course, see a little bit of cyanide. Wasn't a lot, like I stated in my last review recap. I won't see more there. And I'm hoping and hinting, and I hope I'm right, there's a scene between her and, if I'm not mistaken, and this character will be called Thunder. That will be nice. As well as Peter Gamby. This particular recap I'm going to do, I'm glad because, like I said, he needs to talk to Jefferson. He needs to get it out. He needs to be honest, because I really want him to stay around. I feel like he's integral. He's been with him since he was a young boy, and I would hate for them to get rid of him because, honestly, it's not like they both him, Jefferson and Anissa, at times, they can be very hot-headed about certain things. One thing I like about Peter, he keeps it very leveled. So, you know what? Let me just go ahead and jump into the episode 8. Now, of course, Lynn is basically trying to learn some things in regards to what's happening with the documents she received from Anissa. She got that from, the gentleman who worked at the news reporter company. And, of course, with that, she found out when you're doing things and trying to be an investigator, a fake one at that, it can cause things to happen, a ramification, a ripple effect, and in the end cause death. When she went to go visit him, Mr. Poe, and found out he had been in an accident. Now, speaking of Anissa, I did love the part at the beginning of the episode where it showed her, training with her father and him trying to really incite into her, you don't know a lot of these things. Yes, I do this. I can get a good kicking with him and all that, but that's not always going to be helpful in other situations. One situation might be worse or better than the other one, but you don't know. Every situation, it will be different. Don't go in there, thinking, oh, okay, well, I got the powers, then that's all I'm going to need. You got to have the smarts. And I like that Jefferson kept using that, because throughout the episode, it came into play, and it was good on her part to prove to her father, okay, you're not all about just, using, the skills that you have, that you, inherited from your dad. And I love how he set up, like, when you're dealing with certain individuals, you can't assume they're a threat just because they might wear a certain shirt that has a certain, paraphernalia on it that you don't like, and you take it upon yourself to feel like, oh, that might be a threat. No, they can have different ideological, issues, but still, same fact, they're not a threat. You don't know they're a threat. They haven't shown themselves to be a threat, which I actually like. That was a nice little statement that he said to her, and I like that they put that out there to her. Need a lot of those out here in this day and age. But needless to say, just that sequence at the beginning, then of course them deciding that they need to figure out what's going on, because now he's been set up to make him take the fall for what happened to Lady Eve. Now Peter's like, okay, you need to stay hidden. Just, well, we can go out, we can do some investigating. I'll be with my daughter, she'll get to still learn from me how to do certain things under the radar. And he's like, you need to watch yourself, be careful, because of course we all know Peter Gamby is not being fully open and not being honest about, what's really going on, what he does know. So as the episode continues on, of course they're still working together. Jennifer knows something's going on, and she does hint to her mom when she goes to visit, because she's forcing her to watch, clean up, help, whatever, not, because of course she's not doing her other activities like she was a part of her sports, whatever. So just because you're not doing that, mom's like, no, you need to come and help me. I'm gonna keep you distracted, because she'll be on her phone, and that means she won't be really doing anything but just running her mouth. So from there, of course, she asked her, do you see any papers? I could have sworn some stuff was in there. She's like, no, she's clueless, and she would be. Why would she know anything about this stuff? She's investigating some documents that her granddad had. So she's like, okay, something's not right. So from there, she realizes she doesn't want Jennifer there. She lets her go, hang with her friend to take care of some stuff at the school, for posters for, I think, an election, some type of election board or something going on with the school. I think being school president or something. I wasn't verifying that part actually, but needless to say, she lets her leave and she's happy. So she runs off, and her mom's like, okay, I need to figure out this stuff. So she goes to another part of the facility to verify they received information. Hopefully, come to find out, suspiciously some place was ransacked, some things were taken on in the midst of other things, and she was like, well, wait a minute, there was somebody who was working here who was doing something, maybe they do. And sure enough, they did, which was a good thing for her, because it just kind of opens up more information as to, okay, what's really going on. What was he working on? Excuse the phone, you guys, my apologies. So other than that, from there, it kind of just shows her kind of going through the testing, the data analysis, all that information. And then from there, she sees some stuff that lets her know, yes, this is some things in regards to this DNA and all this testing and the stuff she's finding out that happened circa those 30 years ago. So right there, a light bulb goes off with her. She needs to speak to Jefferson to see if he might know anything, but she knows he wouldn't really know anything. Maybe Peter Gamby's character would know something, hence that's when they need to open up to him to find out more stuff. And trust me, he does not want anything to really get out. He does have a visit with a gentleman who's higher arc on him, because of course you remember he said he retired, from the company, the government company he worked for. But he's trying to do what he needs to do, but they want to blame Black Lightning, hence, of course, with what happened to Lady Eve. Now, the whole situation with that is this, and everybody starts to dig, which is Anissa and Jefferson. When they go to the morgue, they find the twin bodies burned, they find her body, and they can tell. And one key thing, which I love that they brought up, was the simple fact of the situation with the way she was killed. When they're struck by lightning, there's a certain symbol it makes on the body, because there's a picture which showcases that Peter Gamby's looking at to kind of explain that to Jefferson, but he wasn't listening. But it ends up coming out, and that's when his daughter brings it, which is smart on her part. So it's another thing that she caught on to, and that's how they know they're using some sort of prototype that's actually utilizing this type of stuff, where they will hint to what they needed to convey, which it did, Black Lightning, but it wasn't really him. And at this time, of course, Henderson doesn't believe him. The other people work at the police department believe him, plus they're dirty cops on it. So of course they're going to keep that whole, situation, hot, where they're thinking, okay, it's Black Lightning. You got the people in the community thinking it's him, talking to them, to the news coverage, news reporters, getting their take on it, whichever, and all that. And that's this unfortunate thing. So basically, Jefferson right now has to stay hidden, but that's why they're out investigating, what's going on, to figure out who's setting him up. Let's get to the bottom of it, because if we find this person, then that could probably lead us to other things, so we can take down the people making the green light and all other things going on in the community. So from there, Peter Gamby realizes that the guy wants to get rid of Black Lightning. Like, if he steps out foot anywhere, we're going to get him. So he's already getting freaked out. He goes to visit a church. He's, petrified of what will happen to Jefferson, and he's kind of coming to a crossroads where he really knows that he might have to speak to Jefferson. Now, what pushes him to make the decision was when Lynn shows up to show him what she had found, and then verifies, okay, do you know any doctors or facilities back in 30 years ago? And he's like, I can't discuss this with you. And of course, right there for her is when she realizes, okay, we tried to give you the benefit, even though you came into his life young. Granted, she didn't meet him till later, but he's known Jefferson since he was around 12. That we understood that, you came into town with him and all that, and you were keeping certain things about your life private, and they respected that. But being that he answered that way, she's like, okay, there's some things you must not be telling. And he's like, you know what? I need to speak to Jefferson. He had no desire to say anything, because honestly, the person he should be speaking to is Jefferson. This all culminates around Jefferson, well before Lynn, well before the girls. So from there, she's already home. Now, they do have the scene where he's all excited because there's a situation that happens with him and Anissa. They go out and they find these little, some sort of gadget or whatever, where, it's, a person's, dead or body, whatever, and all that. And they're kind of trying to figure out, I don't know what you call this little gadget. It was lightly blued up like a neon blue, and they weren't sure how to use it, so they kind of stayed away from it, but they were hesitant, so they kind of waited, called to see if they would send somebody out. They sent a dirty cop. He goes to kind of investigate, and he was like, stay there. And of course, first she tried to fight him. He's like, stay there. And eventually something clicked with Anissa. And in the end, her smarts came into play. And she was able to save her dad because he would have instinctively have been killed. And he was so proud of her. So when he runs into Lynn later that evening, of course, Anissa's upstairs kind of going through her work for her job. And she's, kind of sitting there giving her doughy eyes, the serious look. And he's just like, I'm so proud of her. I was first mad, but then I'm just proud of her. I'm just proud of her daughter. And he's just like, I'm sorry, I have all this adrenaline. I'm so excited. I see the prospect of how this can be great, a unit of us doing what we need to do to take down the bad guys. And then he was just like, what's going on? And he's like, you need to talk to Peter Gamby. You need to speak to him. It's like, and he's like, about one thing, I just think it's best you go see him. Now, moving on to Jennifer. Of course, I said Jennifer was let go. Mom gave her orders, you can go ahead and leave out, go hang out with your girlfriend, for a couple hours, take care of a couple flyers that they were doing at the school. And they're just walking, enjoying themselves, whatever, and all that, talking, taking selfies, whatever. Then one of her best friend decides to put a poster up on this top, type of ladder that's not very sturdy, not very protective, and she shouldn't be on it. And she's telling her, don't get on it, get on it. And she's like, listen to me, whatever. And of course, she loses her footing. And at that moment is when Jennifer has her moment. The adrenaline or the excitement and, the fear of what was about to happen to her friend, she, has her powers kind of, come out there exposed. Her eyes, of course she doesn't realize her eyes, but she realizes her hands, and it catches on fire on her phone, and she drops it, but she turns around to cover herself because she kind of catches on fire. The poster catches on fire, and from there it was just like, wow. Yeah, we were wondering, even though they showed the commercial for the preview for the next episode, I was wondering where she would be when the incident actually happened. So I liked that it happened kind of there. I thought she was going to be doing something at home. We're thinking about something that would probably trigger it that way, because we saw how it happened with Anissa. She had a traumatic experience, and then she, comes, wakes up in the middle of the night, and then she's having a kind of like a panic attack or something, whatever, trying to catch her bearing. That's kind of when hers became, visible. She, of course, didn't know what was happening to her. Same thing was happening to Jennifer now. So, of course, she's like her sister and like her dad. Once this certain things happen that are, unexplainable, she's trying to figure it out. And she tries to figure it out in her room, and she kind of does. You see the part where she does, where just like how Anissa was trying to go to that little junkyard and try to figure out how to kick something with weight and try to do this, she calms herself. And then it kind of triggers it again where, she, has that moment of spark of her powers in her eyes. And she kind of looks up, I think, at her mirror and kind of sees her reflection of her eyes. So she knows something is not right. Something's going on here, whichever. She goes to her sister and she's like, something's not right. And she's like, what are you talking about? You broke your phone. She's like, no, look at the edges. And it's like, it's burned, and of course, Anissa knows. And of course, at that moment, she has I don't know what's going to happen, if she's going to be the one to tell her or it's going to be dad. Most likely it'll probably be, all of them, because they can't keep this. Granted, last episode you saw what Lynn and Jefferson decided. They said, okay, we're going to test her to check her. We still have to test, Jennifer as well, because if it's happening to Nissa, they know full well it's going to happen to her. So I look forward to seeing that on the next episode for sure. Now, in this particular episode, we never really got to see Tobias at all, so we're going to probably most likely see something maybe next week. I don't know. That would be nice, because he is going to be on a manhunt. Just the vengeance is going to be amplified, being that he lost his sister. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's happening. He might be staying low key because, he knows Black Lightning found him, and he knows he is alive now, and now he wants his payback as well. So I'm looking forward to it. Now, speaking of one other part, two other parts actually, was the part with Latavius. They didn't really go into too much information with him. You kind of see him, coming back, he comes into, the club, and the guy's like, we thought you were, rumors are having it that we thought, you had left, or what do you mean, what else? You might be dead, whatever. Like, I'm here, play the music again. Then it shows him taking him back to his place. And of course, he keeps seeing, LaWanda, whichever, because of course, hence the tattoo. Now, I look forward to them going in more detail, because he's trying to understand, why am I here? How did I die? Now, what I find very interesting is how he doesn't remember how he was killed, because we all saw it, and I would think he would remember that that happened all because of Tobias, but You never know. He might eventually learn more. It's just not coming to him yet. I don't know if he's going through some sort of traumatic experience of remembering everything that happened to him before he had his resurrection, so to speak. So I'm looking forward to that. But you can tell it's a lot for him to handle because of the shower scene. He looked like he was about to literally cry a river in the shower. And then that little small, almost intimate scene kind of coming off guard. I'm like, okay, she's all in your mind, but it is what it is. But yeah, I'm curious to see them delve into that more, and I really want to understand it more. I did have a friend who kind of gave me a little bit of inkling into how this whole situation happened because they've read the comics, but I just want to see it for myself. So I was just like, don't really tell me anything. I want to know. But watching the show gradually as every episode goes on, and we'll learn more and more. With that, I'm hoping something happens, and this is my feeling. I want to know if they're going to consider doing that with Lady Eve. I wonder if she sets something up, if this was to ever happen to her, would they bring her back? Now, granted, the way she was killed, I doubt. I mean, they really did a number on her overall. Her face when they opened her up at the morgue, it's just like, oh my gosh, I don't know if they were able to do that. So it would be nice if they eventually bring her back, if not at the end of the season as a little cliffhanger or whatever, but maybe even season 2 to catch us off guard. So my fingers are crossed for that. Now, my last part of this episode that I really enjoyed, but I still want more, is the part where Jefferson goes to see Gambi. I knew it was inevitable. He has stated he's been lying to him and he has to come clean. There's no way around this because if he had not, it would have been even worse. So it's like it's best it comes from him. Because just like Lady Eve says, if anything comes out with Tobias, then your information is going to come out as well. Be honest. Be honest. Technically, he did not have anything, personally didn't have anything to do with what happened to his father, but in the end, you did play a part. And you not coming clean back when he was a child made it even worse because granted, they built this bond over these years and it's going to hurt for a minute. So it is what it is, but the simple fact is this. He is trying to protect him. He has been able to protect him this long, but now that these things are coming out and now your daughter's involved, it's going to be a little different now. It's like he really has to think of his family. Yes, Peter Gambi is very instrumental because let's just be honest. He knows a lot of stuff. He knows how to make, the suits. Check this. He has access to this. So as much as we know Jefferson has a right to be angry, hopefully he won't stay angry so long. He is going to be guarded now with Peter Gambi until he can prove himself in another situation or something comes up where he can feel like, okay, you're not up under anyone's thumb. You're not lying to me. You're not hiding anything else from here forward. But secondly, he needs Gambi as much as he wants. That's his clothing shop, hint, his little lair. That's all his information and stuff. He could grab that stuff. Yeah, Lynn could do a couple things like this, but they don't have any computer and technology of the other things that they need, formatted they need to use to do what he needs to do. So as much as he would be mad at Cry River, he needs him. It's going to hurt, but I want them to hopefully be able to move past this. But I don't blame him for staying guarded, and it will be. But I think that he'll probably get out of that. I think, Anissa might help in him kind of like forgiveness or whatever and all that and moving past that. But I know Lynn, she kind of was shady from him being a part of it anyway, but not to this extent. But feeling like that now, and with this all coming, to a head, it is what it is. So I feel like, yeah, Jefferson eventually might, work with him and all that, but the trust will not be the same because when things like this happen, you can forgive, but you can never forget. And that's just how it is. So, but yes, this was a good episode. I know I ran on a little long with this, but I really enjoyed this episode, you guys. And I'm just loving the way this first season is, just to reiterate back when I did, that DC and DC 2018 and went to that panel and I got to see Cress Williams and then the creators of the show and just listen to how they were talking so enamored of this and what it can do and how it's just opening up the doors. It is an awesome first season so far and I expect great things from the rest of the episodes that can lead into a season 2. I'm just putting that out there. I'm praying that they do get picked up for a season 2. But yeah, this was a good episode. I'm looking forward to next episode for episode 9 and I don't really have anything else to say. I hope you guys enjoyed my recap. Put your comments below. Let me know what you think about certain parts of the episodes, about this particular episode, excuse me. And then, if there were certain ones that you like, certain scenes, Lala, Jennifer, Gambi, just half at it in the comment section. So with that said, you guys, I'll see you guys on the next review. Talk to you soon. Take care.